title rivals came together last time out in Azerbaijan as things closed up again in the World Championship. Lando Norris crashing into us as we control the car, and a surprise race win for Lawson in the Honda. A podium for Tramnitz, P5 for us driving as Leclerc, and Norris out of the points means things are now very, very tight once more. 9 points covering the top 4 in the Drivers' Championship. Coming into the Brazilian Grand Prix race weekend with a sprint race, so double, the action, a few more chances for a couple of more points in there. And, Interlagos is always a very turbulent race weekend. There's always a chance of rain, you feel. So there's a big opportunity for someone to take a hold of this championship, then going into a really crucial run of the 3 races of Vegas, Qatar, and the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But before we get to that, I can't believe my eyes. For the first time in absolute ages, actually since last season, season 3 of this series, we've not had to look at this development screen in the R&D section of the game. I think you guys and I forgot there was even R&D in this game at this point, as there wasn't a regulation change and pretty much most teams have maxed out. But now we've got an R&D reset, and it appears to be on the aerodynamics and durability only. It's not a full car reset, which I was kind of low-key hoping for. I feel like if there was all 4 departments being reset at this point, it would be very topsy-turvy, because it's already super close. We've seen multiple times different teams being competitive at different races because the performance on paper is so close. It's really just about that IRL sort of track-to-track dependency. But alas, it's aerodynamics and durability. I say only. It's still pretty hefty. And obviously, in the 2 patches ago, whenever they made that big patch for the career coming to R&D, they did say that these resets would come later in the season. They would give you a later heads up so that it's impossible for you and AI teams to fully develop and readapt every part. So I don't think we'll adapt everything here on the aero side and durability, and hopefully the AI won't. So when we come into season 5 over that winter break into the pre-season episode, there'll actually be some teams that have taken a big hit on R&D because they just didn't have the time or the resources or what have you. So that's going to be an interesting one to pick back up at the end of the season going into the next one. But for this one then, there's still so much intrigue and insight. 9 points in between the top 4. Let's go into the Sao Paulo race weekend.
Atmospheric tracks don't come much better than this. We're in Brazil for qualifying. Let's get some laps at the limit.
Sao Paulo always seems to deliver in Formula 1, in real life, in the game, especially in the game. We've had many seasons that have been decided here or largely affected, and it's hard to tell what the form's going to be like here in Sao Paulo. It's, again, a very different circuit to the last 2 we've just been to. It's, we've had ups and downs in that time, and what has been consistent is, even though Lando had that issue in Baku with us, that Merc is so quick. It's definitely going to be the best race car of the season at the moment. You can't say we're the strongest. You can't say the same for Red Bull or McLaren. So that's the scary thing. But we go about our business and we try and do the best we can. And the best we can do right now is trying to get as high as we can in the sprint quali. P1 at the moment ahead of Sainz, which is good. And Verstappen down there. Eventually, though, what did I say? What did I say? Oh, my days. Well, that just proves my point then. Mercedes, they are locked in after giving up some points in Baku. They're right back up there. Maybe not a full, complete rebound because it's not Lando in P1. It's his teammate, Carlos Sainz, in P1, but it's a front row lockout for the sprint here for Mercedes. Gasly and Red Bull returning to some form in 3rd place there. Colapinto P4 after a really strong race for Honda, obviously, in Baku. Leclerc P5, we're P7. Verstappen splitting us. I'm pretty happy with that versus Leclerc, because we know as of late in the last few races, Leclerc really has been actually performing at his maximum, actually looking like a 99 rated driver basically. But some big time gaps there. Obviously, we know qualifying is a little bit iffy on this year's game with those time gaps, but that also might be a bit worrisome of how good the Mercedes is around this circuit. We're about to find out as we're heading into the sprint. This won't make or break the weekend, but will certainly sweeten the start of it as we go towards 5 red lights for 12 laps here around Interlagos. Leclerc right ahead of us, lights out, and we're underway. We can see Norris, the other title contender, on the front row. Sainz cuts across. Gasly making the double pass maybe for Red Bull into the lead. We've had a good start versus the cars around us. We're up to P6. Couldn't quite get the P5 on Leclerc, but being a little bit overcautious with our teammate. Of course, remember, driving as Leclerc, last episode, we did Tramnitz's AI a favour by holding people up to allow him to solidify that third place. So we're having to play that team game, I feel, back at him at the start of this sprint to make sure there's no funny business, no contact whatsoever. So just calmed it down. We're still 5 and 6, but now Leclerc is attacking ahead. Sainz a little bit weak. He's definitely been the weaker of the two silver arrows this season as Lando Norris leads the charge for the Mercedes team. Colapinto up next for Leclerc. He's got Sainz. Can we get him into the next left-hander? Trying to go around the outside. A nice view from the aerial shot, but just didn't quite have everything there in the brake zone to get it done. Instead, we'll go for the dive into turn 1 and take a leaf out of Leclerc's book, really, because that's where he got it done on Carlos himself just a lap ago. And so we put ourselves in between now. Verstappen having to fight the Mercedes, and now we can go after Colapinto, who's been done by Leclerc, and it's a deja vu copycat move for us into turn 1. And we've got confidence on the brakes, clearly, with this car, but the problem is other teams have a lot of pace. Colapinto in the Honda, we saw in Baku, they have a lot of pace in a straight line, so Colapinto frustrating us for sure on lap 6 there. There was a bit of contact that could have been a little bit iffy, but thankfully not. But we are going to remain in 4th place for now. But will Colapinto at some point get us back fully? I don't know, but right now Verstappen is going backwards yet again. The McLaren is just not looking that great in race pace terms. The Dutchman can wrestle that papaya car up over 1 lap, but it's tricky in races as we now catch on to the live action between the leaders in this sprint on lap 10. Only 3 laps to go, including the one we're on, and Gasly vying for the lead. So Gasly and Norris, they've actually been swapping every single lap, and now Charles Leclerc is going to get involved. On the first time of asking, it's going to be a smash and grab for the 99 overall rated driver. Unbelievable. I got to tell you, in the cockpit there, watching that live, driving up behind these guys, my jaw was on the floor. I could not believe the aura of Leclerc there. Arrives on the scene and first time just gets both of them and is now on his way. Whereas, like I said, these guys, Gasly and Norris, they've been swapping every single sector 1, every lap, pretty much since lap 1, and then Leclerc just no funny business, gets it done, and he's literally waltzed off into the distance. We've got Norris as well. He's actually down to P5 now, and Colapinto continues to annoy us, actually. Ironically, he's still there, but this is now for P3, not just for P5, as we're going to try and keep Norris at bay, of course, because this, you know, like I said, won't make or break our race weekend, but, you know, both of us, Leclerc and Tramnitz, getting points over Norris, who's down in P5, that's always going to be a positive. You know, we'll take that. We'll very much take that going into this one. But the Mercedes for the second race weekend in a row makes contact with one of our cars. It was Leclerc last episode in Baku, but now today in the sprint at turn 1, what was that? Moving in the brake zone, we go for the kamikaze dive to try and get him back. Honestly, that was a bit of a salty dive because my floor's damaged and we broke our front wing on Norris's rear end on the exit of turn 1. So it's happened again. Is this about to be a pattern for Lando Norris's AI in the Mercedes in this season? You know, feeling the pressure maybe of the title fight, making mistakes, and, you know, having to go to contact with his rivals to try and force things through. It's not going to work this time versus Leclerc, just as it didn't in Baku. Leclerc winning the sprint. Unbelievable. Deserved. That was a crazy performance from our AI teammate today. And like I said, I've been saying, as of late, you know, remember we had that bumpy time at the start of the season where we were like, where is this 99 rated driver we've signed? Here he is now. He is delivering when it matters. And that was insane. Really great double overtake for the win, for the lead. And for us, it should have been maybe third place. But Colapinto, actually, fair play to him, had too much pace. And then, obviously, we got backed into Lando. And he decided to drive into us and break our floor. And then just kind of racing incident of breaking the front wing after that. So it's unfortunate. I mean, we had a better race than Verstappen, who slipped down from the top 3 to P8 in the end in that sprint. So it's actually, honestly, a miracle Verstappen's 9 points in the championship fight with that dog of a McLaren this season, because Stroll clearly can't drive it any higher. And he just always seems to go backwards in races, but has somehow managed to fight back in, you know, 1 or 2 races, every few races to get enough points to still be in here. But anyway, as I've been rambling on about that, we're into the full proper qualifying. The first lap wasn't amazing. P7, it felt good, but time-wise wasn't. And maybe it's because I lost a lot of time in this last sector as we pick up the traction a bit better. We're nearly up to half a second gained on this second run. It needs to be a much better run because we're down in P11. Leclerc goes on provisional pole, so he is taking momentum then from the sprint win to maybe provisional pole position for the full Grand Prix. Crossing the line, I was low-key hoping we could grab a surprise pole for Tim Tramnitz, but no, it's third place. We'll take it though, we'll take it. And we just, you know, spoke about how good Verstappen has been, especially over 1 lap in the McLaren. He's there on the front row, and it's actually a horrendous disaster for Mercedes. What happened there? Where's the pace from the sprint quali? Lando P8, Carlos in 12th place, so maybe Mercedes mistakenly changed something in the setup and it just didn't work for them, and then vice versa. Zane Maloney in the BMW P5, Tsunoda P6 in the Williams, Piastri gaining back a bit, you know, from a very lackluster and quiet sprint race where I think he had a grid penalty, to be fair. P7 for him, Gasly P4. So yeah, the biggest losers there from the sprint to the main quali is Mercedes. Biggest gainers will be us. We're showing a bit more of that race pace in qualifying here, so hopefully that translates to the full Grand Prix tomorrow. Let's go to Sunday.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his 3rd championship here in 2012, and in 2016, Max Verstappen treated us all to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Tramnitz, Gasly, Zane Maloney, and Tsunoda, Piastri, Norris, Stroll, and Franco Colapinto, Sainz, O'Sullivan, Isaac Hadjar, Doohan, Bortoletto, Aaron, Nicholas Solov, Pepe Marti, Lawson, Ocon, Albon, and Jack Crawford rounds off the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? Well, we welcome you to the broadcast. It's going to be some race today. First of all, introductions. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside me for this one, Anthony Davidson. Well, it's an excellent sprint yesterday, but we're back to the usual format now. How do they continue what they started?
Absolutely. You know, they're at one with their car. You could see that in the sprint. That's why they were successful there. And you've got to carry that through into this race today. And in a way, we've had a snapshot as well of what this driver's capable of.
We're in a very good position for the start of this race, but there is going to be a challenge here in this one as there is rain forecast for the end of the race, or maybe earlier than that, the last third of the race even, depends on how early or late it comes. At some point, it's forecast to come, so that's going to be a very tricky changeover. And it also sets up the first part of this race very interestingly, because it might change strategies, because without rain, it would be a 2-stop, you feel, fastest way to do it. But now, is there a chance to do a 1-stop, you know, medium to hard to Inter? That's what I'm thinking. We're all on mediums right now, so all of us have left it very open to see how it goes, to see how the forecasts are in the middle of this race as we go to 5 red lights for the full Brazilian Grand Prix is underway. It's a good getaway from Leclerc, not so much for Verstappen, and could we go round the outside for second? Verstappen comes across and just gives us a little love tap. Tyre on the grass, warning for collision with Max. So the FIA confirmed that there definitely was enough contact to warrant the warning, and that's, you know, typical aggression you feel from the Dutchman. We've been pushed down to P5. Of course, he's in the McLaren that we just saw in the sprint going backwards, so fair play to Verstappen. He's trying everything to try and gain in this race before inevitably you feel the McLaren's going to go down in pace as we overtake Tsunoda then, who did well on the start, but you feel like, oh, you know, based off the sprint, we have the pace to overtake him and then go chasing after Pierre Gasly, who's having a really strong race weekend, it must be say, for Red Bull Ford, compared to his teammate, who for a large part of the first third of the season was leading the way, and now, you know, how the mighty have fallen, but Red Bull refining a little bit of their form, but not as much as Mercedes have, obviously winning quite a few races in the last 5, but at the moment Gasly's showing that pace. He gets Verstappen, and Verstappen, well, he's blinking away, he's harvesting battery here and goes on the defense as we set a new fast lap of the Grand Prix, and it's a bit of PTSD there as we went to the outside because I was ready for Verstappen to give us the elbow and squeeze us all the way out, so we're being cautious here and trying to make the move maybe elsewhere. Verstappen defending the inside, we go to the outside, but we just don't have enough, and Verstappen being a very tough cookie to overtake as he does some good defensive work. Just parked his car very awkwardly in the middle, but in the end, thankfully, it is going to be a slam dunk on lap 6, because at that point, he could not defend. We have the overwhelming pace with DRS, and it seems like that McLaren's harvesting a lot here. So did Verstappen overuse his battery in the opening laps to maintain second place initially, and now he's kind of drained it all? I don't know, but now Tsunoda's passed him because we gave him a bit of a taste of his own medicine with the squeeze out, and all of a sudden Piastri's on the back. Meanwhile, Norris making up quiet positions for 7th place and is in clean air to chase after that pack, tail-ended by Piastri. And then at the sharp end, so far, Leclerc running away with this 2 seconds ahead of Pierre Gasly. So it's looking like the sprint all over again at the front end for Leclerc as Verstappen now gets overtaken by Piastri. He's down to 6th place, so 2nd to 6th in 8 laps. Yeah, it's ropes, it's curtains. I'll say it again, I actually don't honestly know how Verstappen is this high up in the standings, because we see time and time again how awful this McLaren is this season. It just goes backwards, and I actually don't know where he's picked up these points. Maybe the FIA need to investigate that. Maybe there's been some miscounting somewhere. Lap 10, the gap is still about 2 seconds to Gasly. We're now closing up to the Frenchman, 1.2 the gap. Tsunoda P4, Piastri still ahead of Verstappen. Oh, Verstappen's lost it. Verstappen has spun the car at turn 1, and it goes from bad to worse for the Dutchman. It's misery for McLaren, and surely that is going to be a massive dent to Verstappen's title hopes, and he had to park it up so badly at turn 1. He's brought out this safety car, which might be music to my ears, because I'm not going to lie, I was struggling a bit on those mediums. We were keeping up with Gasly, but it was getting a little bit ropey, a little bit, you know, skating across some of these corners. So I welcome the safety car to make a free pit stop, but the thing is, everyone's going to have that same idea, so it's going to be a bit frustrating in that way. We close up to Gasly, but I actually realised that I need to give myself a gap to double stack with Leclerc. And in doing so, I slowed myself up so much the game thought I was a danger to the drivers around me, ghosted me, and Tsunoda's overtaken me. I've actually shot myself in the foot, and it didn't even matter. We still get held up with the double stack with Leclerc. Fantastic. So I shouldn't even bother you know, braking hard. The only thing though is, everyone is on softs. Well, okay, maybe not everyone. Aaron is on mediums, but most people on a soft compound. That is an interesting one. We're on the hards. That is going to be a big difference in strategy then for this race. But whilst that may be a surprise, you know what's not going to be? You guessed
Your
it.
DRS is unavailable. The rear wing is down, so you can stay out while we work on a fix.
Oh, it wouldn't be a race here in Season 4 of F125, my team in this series, would it? Without a rear wing failure. So we're on the hards, everyone around us on softs or mediums. This was already going to be a challenge on the restart. Let's forget the strategy advantage I feel I have later in this race. Right now, I'm going to be a lot slower with tyre grip, and once DRS is activated, I'm going to be a sitting duck now with no DRS available. So we are pushing the limits on the restart here to try and overtake Tsunoda. As we go green, we wait for the start-finish line to overtake Tsunoda, squeeze him at turn 1, get the move done, just to move up as high as we can, which is third, because I've got no chance of gaining on Gasly and Leclerc with them two being on softs, and eventually by the end of that same lap, that opening lap, lap 13, going to green, we may have got Tsunoda, but now he's just going to come at us, and so is Colapinto. I'm using battery, we've got no rear wing. It won't matter that the DRS enabled for us because we won't be able to open it anyway. So right now, we are trying our best to defend. Colapinto's all over the back of us in the mirrors on the left-hand side. He's overtaking Tsunoda whilst those two try to go either side of me. The Honda is so quick, though, in a straight line. We can't even defend. Oh, Tsunoda makes contact with Colapinto. We weren't able to defend Colapinto at all, and we almost got boxed in with Tsunoda, but Tsunoda was a bit too harsh, a bit too in a hurry, and is driven into the back of the Honda, and even despite the front wing damage, is still coming at us because of the pace he's got with DRS open and how much grip the soft tyre is giving him right now versus my hards. Remember, 2 steps of a compound softer this is. It makes a big difference, and now Lando Norris gets involved. We almost make a bit of a crashing contact with Tsunoda there. We played it very, very fine margins, diving him around the outside, and Norris now all over the back of us. He gets us on the mediums. We come back at him, though, immediately to try and get him, because this is crucial for the championship, if not for Tramnitz's sake, for Leclerc's sake, but I can't actually get that move done. We don't have the grip. We don't have the facilities for that sort of overtake, and so we have to give up the position. And this is a replay then. This was actually live as we were fighting them two. Gasly absolutely sends it there. Very late move. Didn't think he was going to pull this off, but he does. And he overtakes Leclerc on the outside then up the hill. And he is into first place. So surprisingly, Leclerc no longer in full control of this race. And the Red Bull Ford looking very punchy on the soft tyres. And to that point, I hardly put up a fight on Piastri. There's just no point right now. The hards don't have the pace. But let's talk about the strategy advantage, because I think basically later in this race, if it rains, I think we can go to the wet period on these hards. But these guys have no chance of doing that on the softs and medium, or maybe just the softs. Maybe there's half a chance Norris, Stroll on those mediums can go to the wet period. It's looking a little bit overcast over there in the far distance. And now, lap 21, my hard tyres are actually quicker than these guys on softs. They're wearing out, so they've definitely got a pit. And we've been told right now rain is on the way, but it's still 10 minutes out. So by that point, they've surely made another pit stop. So I reckon we could get a good amount of track position. Not to say we're obviously, plain sailing. The hard tyres are going to start to wear out as well, but Gasly's in, Leclerc's in, Norris stays out on the medium tyres, so does Piastri right now. So we're up to third place, but surely Piastri pits. I don't know about Norris though, that's the worry. He's now into first place on mediums. Maybe he could get to the wet period. And so all of a sudden, the advantage we had with ourselves as Tramnitz, Leclerc, is gone. It has Norris lucked into a P1 here, or not really lucked in. He's strategically got himself into a P1 here on mediums and could get to the wet period in the same way I'm trying to get to the wet period on the hards for P3. At least we'll be P2 once Piastri pits, so we'll, gain back that, and limit the damage there. But This is a roller coaster, much like Sector 2 here of Sao Paulo. This is a roller coaster. It's gone from looking really great for us to now not too sure. Piastri's in off the softs. I still can't believe those guys were on soft tyres. I just don't understand. I get Norris going on mediums because that gives him the options, but that option is going to be coming in. He doesn't stick with it. He doesn't think he can get to the wet period. It's still not arrived on lap 24. So we take the lead of the Grand Prix. So just like that, once again, maybe the ball is in our court. We're going to be leading this race. Leclerc is up to third now on lap 25. So once again, it's looking pretty great for us. But Norris certainly has come back in this race. He's up to P5, limiting the damage that we could maybe occur as Verstappen. I was going to say, has he recovered to P6? No, he's yet to come in, and he's got front wing damage. So Verstappen is having perhaps the most depressing race of his life for this season, and maybe waving his championship chances goodbye. But for us, we just carry on, and on lap 26, the rain is starting to fall. So, is this plan about to work? Lap 29, 3 laps later, we're still going though on the hards. That's a bit concerning. The rain's falling, yeah, but it's not settling enough. It's not wet enough maybe yet for the Inters. And all of a sudden, Gasly is only 4 seconds behind us, having made that second stop. And oh, that's not going to help. Oh, my Lord. We have kept it out the barriers. We have had our life flash before our eyes, but in a flash, 4 seconds has become overtaking us. Pierre Gasly goes to the inside. We come back at him, but now, not only do we have tyre wear on this hard compound of tyre, we've just span it, so the tyres are probably quite hot as well. Gasly all over the back of us. And so this is a bit of a tricky situation. I needed the rain to come down a lot heavier than it has done. This is just not what we need, because now, what? We've got 7 laps to go. I'm caught in 2 minds. Do we try and go to the end now on this hard tyre, which is going to be a miracle, by the way, considering the tyre we're on this game and the fact that these guys have made a second stop for fresh tyres, plus the rain? Or do we pit for Inters at some point and hope that we have the grip to come back and maybe these guys start to struggle? I don't know. Right now, obviously, I'm staying out. Clearly, you can see that, but I'm trying to make a decision here in the cockpit, because for now, I can defend Gasly and Leclerc. But for how long can I carry this on? Lap 31 onto 32. Look at the tyre icon. It's now orange. So our tyre wear is very high now. And we are still defending Gasly as much as we can. And inadvertently maybe helping Leclerc. But oh, you can see that lack of grip on the rear end. And this might be game, set, match for Gasly. Getting into the lead. We squeeze him to the inside. There's contact. No! Leclerc, what are you doing? Leclerc has made contact with us, and we've broken a bit of our floor. After giving him the benefit of the doubt, being a good teammate in the sprint, Leclerc has repaid the favour by hitting us there. A little bit of damage to the floor. Gasly's through into P1 and maybe waving goodbye to the rest of us. That might just be Pierre Gasly winning this race. With only 4 laps to go, I'm trolling around in the second now. Very slow. Colapinto's up to third. Norris is now on the back of Leclerc, and we are losing the back. I need to come in. I need to come in. I think it's too wet. I think it's too wet. I think it's too wet, and we need Inters. But the thing is, I think these guys, if I was them, I would just be risking and going to the end. I would definitely do that, and they are going to do that, but it's too wet for me. With the tyre where I've got, I need to come in. I gambled, and it just didn't really work. Because if I stayed out, realistically, I would have fallen down the order. So we're choosing to fall down the order actively here to come on to Inters. So it sort of swings around about, yeah, it all comes together basically at the same point. And weirdly, the guys all choosing softs in the middle of that race. That was maybe the better strategy. I don't know. We've gone from, at one moment, it really did look like a stroke of genius to be in P1 on hards and then go on to Inters, but it basically just hasn't rained hard enough to the and early enough where right now I am quicker than everyone on Inters. Like, we're not setting purples, but we are gaining on Hadjar, and we are hopefully going to gain, I think on Lawson, we can get Lawson probably by the end of the race. 3 laps to go. We're going to absolutely send it on Hadjar here. And he's definitely struggling. But it's too late. There are not enough laps for the rest of the cars. Leclerc, Norris, Colapinto, Piastri. Gasly. There's not enough laps for them to lose enough time on those worn mediums in these tricky conditions as we try and go around the outside of Lawson. Doesn't quite work out. Instead, now down the inside of the Kiwi driver, and we're up into P5. There's 13 seconds to the next car, which is Leclerc, and you're going to see that time is going to come down rapidly. But more worryingly is not where we are. It's where Norris is at. Because on to the last lap of this Grand Prix, I thought Gasly had sewn this up. I can't believe what I'm watching. This is a disaster for us. This is the worst thing that could have happened for our team, for Leclerc and for Tramnit. Lando Norris, on the last lap of this race, overtakes Gasly into turn 1 to take the lead on the last lap. Oh my God. The Mercedes car, it's something else right now at this phase of the season. It is so consistent. It is just there. And no matter how much luck we have from the crash in Baku to the sprint, it is feeling like we're fighting a losing battle in a way, because the momentum just carries on with Norris and Mercedes. He wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. We catch up to Leclerc. We're only 2 seconds is that off him. 3 seconds off him. If there were just like 4 more laps, we would be catching Leclerc, catching the rest of them. It just didn't rain enough. And I'm adamant, by the way, if we stayed out on hards, we would have been down to 6th place anyway, and probably lower, because I might have got a puncher. So bailing on inters was the play. Basically, our race was lost by making the earlier gamble to even try that attempt.
Out of the last corner for the last time, Lando Norris is victorious.
They had to be decisive with their overtaking today as they worked their way through the field. And those kind of race victories are so enjoyable because it's not just like winning from the front. They really had to work for it today.
So for those of you who are thinking after Baku, oh, of course, the championship's closed up. How convenient with 4 races to go. Here you are. It's all not written in the stars right now. And we're going to have to make our own luck in the last 3 races and come back at these guys. I know our car can perform better. Typically, we've gone really well at Vegas and Qatar. Abu Dhabi's a bit hit and miss sometimes on this game so far. So I'm still going to back myself to try and bring this back to get it to Abu Dhabi. But there is also definitely a chance that maybe Merck can lock it out earlier, because 20 points is massive. Really, really big swing, and it swings right back for Norris and Mercedes. Guys, if you have enjoyed it, though, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.